That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Yeah. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.
Ben, you might have to carry this one because I don't think we have sound.
Sound?
No.
Or I can hear you, so you at least have that much sound. What's going on, fellas? Welcome on, everybody.
It's reading it, so it's not unplugged. It's something on the soundboard. It's probably fried from.
No.
Yeah, it's okay. So I can hear you.
Can you hear us now?
I could hear you before.
Oh, I don't know if anybody else can hear us. What's going on, folks? If there's anybody in there yet, Trey decided to clean ours with an unapproved electronic cleaning product, and now the soundboard doesn't work. So
Tell Pete he doesn't know what he's talking about.
we were watching a YouTube video. That's what took us so long, Ben. Sorry about that.
Oh yeah.
So what's going on, folks? Welcome to the One Cast Fishing Friday Live. I think we have sound now. I'm gonna test it here real quick because we don't have anybody watching yet. Yeah, we're good now. Okay. So we can hear you now, Ben. We couldn't hear you before. You said you could hear us, but we couldn't hear you. So that wouldn't have done a whole lot of good. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the One Cast Fishing Friday Live. As always, thank you for being here. Make sure you head to onecastfishing.com. Use the code the OneCast, all one word at checkout. Save yourself some money off the snagless jigs, long neck hooks, weedless neds, and the soft plastics. From there, you can head to CarolinaWatersNC.com. I don't know why I don't have my hat on.
Yeah.
I felt naked there for a minute. Head to CarolinaWatersNC.com, code the OneCast, all one word. Save yourself some money. Get you some sweet UPF gear, hats, gloves, all of that good stuff. What's going on, Curtis? Hope you're doing well. Chris Curtis. Hope you're doing well, bud. Appreciate you being here. From there, check out our link for Hobie Eyewear. It's in our link tree that I'm going to post. You can click on the Hobie Eyewear link. It'll take you there. Grab you some glasses. Save 20% off. And we have a few more coming.
Yeah.
We can't tell you about just yet.
Tease.
But yeah, soon enough, we have some cool stuff coming. You'll notice Ben is not here with us. He was not feeling well. And I told him to stay home because I got to move for the next 2 weeks, essentially. And I don't want to do that while sick because that would be miserable. So,
Ben, we see you're looking a little festive there with your Aloha or Hawaiian shirt Friday, huh?
Yeah, I know. It's because I don't know if you can tell, but my face has been red all day. So trying to get that sunburn look, you know, after being cooped up after the storm here the last few days. But
yeah, we can definitely hear the stuffiness going on there. So hopefully you'll get to feeling better. Glad you were able to jump on here. Sucks that we didn't get to see you in studio for Fishing Friday, but we're glad you were at least able to jump on from the house. So, yeah, for those of you that are local, you know, we just got absolutely hammered by the rain with old Deborah. Old Big Deborah come through, dumped her rain on us.
Dumped her rain.
Yeah, dumped her rain. Say something else, but I don't think it would have sounded
The water is rising.
The water's rising. Jordan was almost 9 foot, almost up to 225.
it's 225, 31 right now.
Did it finally hit it? So it hit it. So all ramps will officially be closed on Jordan Lake 225s when they close everything. So everything was closed, I believe, except for the wildlife ramp at Farrington, but they close it at 225. So she's gone. I don't know where Falls is. It's rising. So about the only place you're going to be fishing this weekend will be Sharon Harris, and that is going to be an absolute show because it's going to be the only lake people can get their boats on.
I mean, you could absolutely dump your kayak in any of these lakes if they're accessible. So
you could.
Just be careful because the river's rocky. Yeah.
Welcome to the Fuchs family. Listening in while they're driving home from their trip up there in Maine, chasing smallmouth and hanging out for a week. Glad to have you all here as always. We're going to talk a little bit about fishing rising water after a storm like that. It's a unique situation we face as anglers, right? We fish low. We talk low water. We talk when the water's high and stable, normal pool. But as that water's rising, you've had a ton of rain. All of those little feeder streams and everything are just dumping water into the backs of the creeks and things. And I'll jump right into it. For me, that's where I'm heading. I'm going into the backs of the creeks where you have those feeder streams and things like that. A lot of times what happens is those feeder streams are washing a lot of bait, essentially, for the bait fish. So you're going to get a lot of, earthworms, smaller microorganisms and things that the bait fish will feed on. So they'll push in there to feed, and naturally the bass are going to follow them And weather like this, rising water, you have it pouring in the back of them creeks. I absolutely love to go back in there with a buzz bait or a spinner bait and just work them. You can sit back there and those fish will get stacked up and you can absolutely schwack them. It can be tough when it's rising. You may have to run a bunch of those little pockets. If you do go onto a body of water that has water coming up and in like that, make sure you're careful. I don't know. I can't speak for everywhere in the country. I assume it's pretty similar, but here there's going to be a ton of deadheads, a ton of floaters. I drove down to Pose yesterday just to see what it looked like. Last night, Chelsea and I had some running to do. We went down there, I don't know, like 7:30, and right floating past the ramp, there was a, 40-foot pine tree. And I was like, yep, she's fixing to get a bit sporty out there. So, but for me, that's what I like to focus on. And then once that water stabilizes for a couple days, even if it's 6, 7, 8 foot high, it can be super tough because those fish will get way up in there in the woods. Remember, it's flooded stuff that hasn't been flooded in potentially years, if ever. So they'll get back in there. You can't necessarily get to them, but I do like to flip the trees and brush and everything that you can get to. So as far back in there as I can get and kind of figuring out a river system when the water's coming like this, just avoid it. Like the Roanoke and stuff. Yeah. It's just too dangerous to even attempt to fish. So that's what I like to do when the water's coming up. Trey, Ben, I don't know if y'all want to speak on how you like to attack that.
Ben, you got any input on this?
So for me, I have found rising water very difficult because Pete, I like doing what you said, going back to the feeder creeks and all, but depending on time of the year, that may not be the best location. And to me, I have found different scenarios at different times of the year. The fish do different things, or at least that's what I found. But there's been nothing consistent. Sometimes they stay on the old bake line for a few days till it stabilizes. Sometimes they rise with it. Sometimes they may move up halfway or something. You just have to figure it out, and a lot of moving around. I guess the best advice I have is if you've been on the water and you've caught them in a place, and you can kind of start there, but then, you generally know where the fish are at, then you can kind of expand where they have moved to at that point. Because they're going to move for sure when the water comes up this much. And I don't know, it'd be something interesting a biologist on, when the water comes up that fast and there's that much current, do they want to get out from being out deep on river channels and stuff? So
I think the important thing for anybody watching and listening about, rising water is understand what kind of body of water you're trying to approach, whether or not it's a TVA system where they have consistent amount of running water that dumps in. Then you look at lowland reservoirs, highland reservoirs, river systems like Pete talked about, Sharon Harris not being a flood control lake versus Jordan or something like that is. So every body of water is going to probably have a unique approach. You can still catch fish shallow all year long, but if it's the middle of the summer, the most stable water is probably out in the middle, but there's going to be a lot of fish that will slide up. And sometimes you got to give that water a couple days to stabilize. Because we've had it before where I couldn't even get bit on a lake because the water was so far back. Right. But, I'm going to go shallow and I'm going to eliminate it at least. I'm going to give it a good try, and throw moving baits and things like that. But once that water starts to recede a little bit and stabilize, that's when you can really go pick those bushes apart that you're talking about and things like that. So I think it's all situational. It's all dependent on the body of water you're trying to attack.
Yeah, it's going to be, you got to do what's your comment. For me, my experience here is Jordan, regardless of the time of year and water temperatures, if you've got that water dumping in the back of the creeks, I'm going to go back there and get bit and I'm going to catch fish. So that's where I'm going to go. I haven't spent a lot of time offshore when it gets like that, but I will say that a lot of times, just to Ben's point, what I've seen is those fish leave those points and stuff pretty quick because that river current is ripping through there, and they're lake fish. They're lazy, right? They're not used to current. So they want to get up out of that. So that's really when those trees and bushes and things like that start to play. Don't lie, Pete. Seth, be quiet, man. What's going on, Seth? Hope you're doing well. Mike Johns is in the house as well. Welcome. And Shin, I'm not going to try to say your last name because I don't want to mess it up, but appreciate you being here. But yeah, so that's my experience. Everybody's experience and what they do is going to be different. Similar to what Trey said, like on Harris, I'm still going to go deep because that lake doesn't get the current, doesn't get the conditions that you get on the other lakes because it's not a flood control. So that water constantly flows through the dam. It doesn't really get a chance to kind of get up there and sit high. It'll still come up. It's probably 3 or 4 foot high today. It's
definitely high. I went there yesterday and
where at it. Which lake?
Sharon Harris. If you want to go fish, probably the most stable lake around, at least the Triangle area, besides the city lakes, like that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, you're gonna have to do Harris. You're gonna have to do a Mayo, something like that. Watercolors obviously still gonna be different.
Falls right now. Falls is 5.5 feet high right now.
Yeah. Do you think? Well, like Mike, for us, so one thing I can tell you about thermocline is we haven't had one here in a little bit. So, talking to folks that's been spending a bunch of time in the water, we're at that point in the summer where it's been hot long enough that it's almost non-existent. So it's probably there. It's just not as defined. I know on Harris, some of the folks I talked to, it's not really like it was a month ago. It's a lot harder to find if you can find it at all. So I'm sure if it's early enough in the year where that thermocline's really set, I'm sure that rising water coming up quick will mess with that, and that could impact the bite and kind of what those fish are doing.
A lot of times it gets rid of the thermocline because all the water that's coming in the lake is either falling from the sky, from the air, or it's been running through creeks and getting all the oxygen in it. So and of course,
I tell you,
the temperature coming down.
I recommend like going to I'll probably run out to Harris tomorrow for a couple hours in the morning to check it out. One of the things I'm curious about is, we talked about it a long time ago with, residential developments and development in general, changing the watershed and what gets pushed in the water nutrient wise and stuff like that. Depending on what's happening around your surrounding lake, it could result in a fish kill, right? Like, so that is one of the things I'm going to go check out to see if things are being washed in the lake that are, as a result of any sort of developments and stuff like that. But that's one of the things you want to check out too, because you have no idea what's being built around your surrounding area unless you're part of the development plan or pull those public records and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see what happens. And that's a huge fear from big hurricanes and stuff like that. Like, they result sometimes in fish kills.
Yeah, we're gonna have a massive fish kill in the Roanoke and that whole river system. I can pretty much guarantee it with as much water as they've gotten, and it's coming to them. Last time some of the areas that flooded, I remember seeing the news footage, and you could see the 8-9 pound bass dying on the road. So there, we're gonna see a fish kill, I'm certain, in that area, just because the water gets so high so fast that those fish get into areas and it recedes relatively quick too, and they end up getting trapped and dying. But that's what keeps that whole river system down there so good, is you get those fish kills every 5-7 years, and it really kind of resets the system. One thing I think Trey can attest to is this year we are catching a lot more small fish compared to what we used to.
Yep.
What used to be consistent 3, 4, 5 to 7 pound fish this year are pound, 2 pound, and even a lot of like little 9-10 inch bass, which I've not caught in the last 4 years. So that's kind of where the system has been. So this is an opportunity to kind of reset that, and it won't impact like the Chowan, because the Chowan's such a big river that it doesn't impact it as much. But the Roanoke's fairly small, the Kashai, some of those other small rivers. It's interesting. So let me just read through.
No, you're
like
good.
I said, that's how they say the red tide started in Florida. That would make sense. Who else we have? Smalley smacked our one cast baits. Christine Fuchs. Yeah, we saw the pictures. You guys were definitely whacking them up there on the bladed jigs, and I think you had the Warhawk for a trailer. I'm not 100% sure which one you're throwing, but
I told David one of them had a stinger on, I think. And he likes to match his trailers, which is a thing guys do.
It's a technique.
It's a technique, and a lot of people swear by it. It definitely works to get that contrast in there.
Shin said similar type of weather. Water has been high in Minnesota this year. Great fishery. Yeah, Minnesota is one of those super special places. Definitely somewhere I want to get up to one of these days.
Yeah, a lot of natural lakes up in the Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan area and stuff like that. You guys are definitely blessed. Maine has a lot of those natural fisheries and stuff. So if you guys have any input on rising waters up there, like we'd be curious to hear your thoughts. But down here, these are more of your man-made lakes and stuff, minus the river system that Pete was talking about. We got a couple big natural lakes in North Carolina. Yeah, let's go fish Jordan tomorrow. If you can get into a ramp.
You'd have to take a kayak, Jeff, because all the ramps are closed. But you can probably go out there and schwack them if you get into it. But if I'm gonna target these fish, just like Pete and Ben said, like if it's right now, which it is right now, that's weird. I'm sounding like somebody. Yeah. But if you know that you have bass schooling in certain areas, just go to the bank where they're typically schooling and see if they moved up, right? If they moved off a ledge onto a flat, moving up onto the old bank line. And that's another thing too, that has got me in the past where I'm fishing over the top of my boat's sitting on top of the fish and they're on the old bank line. That's where mapping products come in really handy. I've seen it happen on Jordan Lake before. I'm sure it happens all over the place. But as the water tends to go up, they might use the old bank line to stop on, right? And that's where that most people go wrong, and they'll just go straight to the shallows. So just target those high percentage areas, man. What's going on, Charlie? Charlie said I generally don't deal with rising warm water. Out west, our rising water is snow melt. Is there a difference on how you approach rising warm water with snow melt areas?
Ooh, I don't have any experience.
I mean, snow melt's a whole different beast. I have a little bit from my time in Wyoming and stuff. That's mostly trout fishing, which are a cold water species, so not as big an impact. But if it was me, bass fishing with snow melt,
I'd go find the water.
Yeah, for me, just like Ben said, I'm going to try to find the warmest water in the lake, because that you're going to probably find a concentration of fish, and if not, they're going to be more active in feeding there in that area. But that's definitely, I'd like to get a Western angler on, and I think I might know just the one to get on to kind of talk about bass fishing and snowmelt, because that's not something we have to deal with.
Yeah, that actually makes me think now, because it's something I never considered. But like here, like in the spring, you get a warm rain, like in February, March, you run to the backs of the creeks. That's where all the fish are going. Yeah. But I wonder, like, how much that affects. The fish, if there's a cold snow melt, do they run away from it? I don't know.
I just wouldn't target the yellow snow. That's my biggest thing. So Jeff said, how high is the Roanoke in Plymouth? I think Pete's looking it up.
I'm looking right now. Yeah.
Probably pretty high and probably really, really dirty.
It's for sure dirty. Yeah.
Super dirty. But I don't know if Seth is still on. If Seth's from the Ohio area, he fish the Ohio River a lot. I don't know if they deal with like snow melt stuff.
No, I fish the Ohio River a bunch.
But you're not Seth though. So I mean, I don't even.
I fish the good part of the Ohio River.
Yeah, that's a great question. We're gonna send that message out to somebody, because that piques my curiosity on how that will work out. Mike Johns talked about when the NPFL fished the Cumberland River when it was extremely cold, flooded conditions. And, that they dealt with rising water, but it didn't rise too much. Mike, if you're still on here, if you want to say, like, how did you break that down and where did you target that water runoff? Cause it was cold water runoff. I don't know. It wasn't snow, but it was definitely cold. So I don't know how that works, man. That's a great question. Yeah. So we won't wait for him. So
no, go ahead. I'm pulling up.
No, he's pulling up the Roanoke at Plymouth. On the flip side, are we still on the rising water talk right now?
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead.
So, think about everything that's coming out of the ground, right? So, like, a lot of people say, oh, look for bait fish. There's worms coming out of the ground. There's snakes. There's lizards. There's all sorts of stuff. So I think when we have conditions like this, like, you can't go wrong with flipping a worm, flipping a bug. I think you can probably throw just about anything at them. I know I'm gonna hit them with top water first. Like, guaranteed, it's gonna be a top water situation early in the morning. And then if I'm not on them, if I can access them and I'm not hitting them with top water, then you're gonna need to slow down, right? Because you're fishing post frontal conditions. It's probably gonna be bluebird skies, high pressure, things like that. And that's where you can really generate a lot of bites, like flipping a soft plastic or something like that, like the One Cast Fishing Nighthawk, or any of the soft plastics, man. You can probably throw anything at them, but I'm definitely going to look for I'm definitely going to look for those areas where if they were on a point or they're on a ledge, I'm going to go fish that bank line that they were schooled up on. I'm not just going to go hit a bunch of random stuff. I'm going to start high percentage areas first. Mike John said my fish ended up staying in the same spot. So originally I found them at 10 to 15 foot of water. And then when the water rose approximately 8 feet, his fish stayed put. So they're in 18 to 23 foot of water and they stayed where they were at. And that's, Mike, that's absolutely probably the deal, right? Like they didn't rise with the water. They stayed right where they were at and they were waiting for that water to potentially stabilize. Ben, what'd you got?
Yeah, so that's what happened 2 years ago. I was pre-fishing for a tournament at Jordan. Or maybe this was last year. But so that's when it got really high there in March. It was kind of cold. I guess the water was probably like high 50s. So like it was about the time everyone wants to go look for them spawning. But the first day I caught one flipping in the reeds there. But the second day, all those reeds were pretty much underwater. Like the water had come up so much, rising water both days. And then the second day, I caught an 8-pounder, but that was off riprap, so it didn't have to move very far. So, and what I found out later, I've talked to a couple people, is that they had moved up. They really hadn't moved very far. They moved up. They were shallow, but they had just moved a little bit to where the old bake line was and some of the old buckbush and stuff, and that's where guys were catching like chatterbaits and all.
Were you talking about when the water started receding?
No, I don't.
No, I'm talking about Trey. I wasn't paying attention. So it's like 6 foot right now, Jeff.
No, I didn't talk the receding one.
Okay. This time of the bait rules, if they follow the water, then so will bass, and the bait stays, put bass stay. Yep. Yeah. Follow the bait. So Mike asked a question. He goes, do you adjust your pattern when the water starts receding? Yeah, my favorite pattern when the water is falling, especially on Jordan Lake, is the couch pattern.
What? Just stay home?
Stay at the house, because that lake fishes like absolute dog doo-doo when the water's falling.
Yeah, I would just go out and try it.
Yeah. I mean, you just go fish, and I've never figured out what they do.
I don't know. Maybe one of you guys. I don't know if I have a lot of experience when the water is falling, because I don't feel like we have really high water conditions. I will tell you this though, and we learned this year. Just because the water is falling doesn't mean that they're necessarily not shallow. We ran a pattern in some water willow, and then we ran that same pattern the next morning in that same water willow with about a half a foot less of water on it, and the fish were still in the same exact area. And we didn't know that the water had fell until we didn't look at it on our phones or anything like that. So, but that's one of those things, like at least give it a try eliminating the shallow water. And then if it doesn't work, you're probably going to have to hit that mid water depth, that 4 to 8 foot, which a lot of us overlook a lot of times. So, but yeah, I don't know if I would change my technique at doing it. I would go eliminate the shallow water first. Yeah, Jeff, the gauge is showing 275 at the bridge there. That's about, if you use their little calculator thing, that's about 6 foot high right now on the gauge height. So I didn't look at what the CFM was, but it's probably absolutely ridiculous amount down there right now. Well, here's one thing too. And Mike asked about like changing your patterns with like receding water. Not every fish in the lake goes shallow. Yeah. Yep. Just like not every fish in the lake goes deep all the time. So if your high percentage area is out in brush piles or on whatever it is, like, and you're not getting bit shallow, go fish for those fish, because they're still out there. And we see it all the time, especially now with new technology, like they're out there. Yeah. Hey, Rod. That's where I'd fish. Falling water, Jordan, dead stick of Senko from the bank all the way to 12 feet. Yeah, I'm definitely just going to stay on the couch where I'm going to dead stick. Yeah, I've never unless it's a derby where I'm going to need to win some money, and it's got to be more than $100. That sounds miserable.
I've always had way more luck on rising water than falling water.
Yeah. But Ben, you talked about riprap, right? Like riprap stays relatively stable. You know what I'm saying? Like it comes up on the riprap, but like riprap would be a place that, like, if I was fishing Jordan Lake, right, or any lake, and I was looking for a high percentage area, whether or not the water was rising or falling, and there's not a lot of vegetation in the lake, then I'm going to go try hitting those high percentage areas, those ripraps and things like that, rock walls and retaining walls, things like that, depending on where it's at.
The biggest problem here is the other 90 boats that are bass fishing Jordan when the water's falling or fishing.
Oh yeah, get in where you fit in. And then if there's docks on the lake like Tillery or Baden or Bugs or Gaston, whatever the case may be, or whatever lake you fish on, if there's docks, if they're holding on the ends of the docks, a dock lake would be probably an easier one in my opinion, because if the water's coming up, they may follow the dock to the back, and if the water's coming down, they may follow the dock out to the end. And if there's brush piles on the end of that and the water's receding, Mike, I'm going to hit those brush piles on the ends of the docks, right? Even if I don't have forward-facing sonar.
Why do you guys think falling water is maybe more difficult? I mean, it is for me, but
I just think because it's pulling, so everything's been pushed up shallow, and the bait and everything's up there. And as the water falls, all that stuff starts to pull away from there. And the bait gets sort of wonky, that those concentrations of the shad and bluegill and stuff are kind of a bit more spread out because as it recedes, it pulls that food source that they were on and it disperses it over a wider area. And the bass just get a little bit swirly. It's just, I don't know exactly why. That's my opinion. It's probably wrong. I'm sure somebody will tell me I am, but to me, that's why. So like it pulls all that bait out. It pulls what the bait is feeding on. So the bait's bait. So everything just gets kind of spread out again, and it takes a little bit for it to reset.
Do you think it has to do with anything about the way the fish is positioned? So when the water's rising, fish are like a lot of times facing towards the bank, eating from the bank, versus when the water's falling, they're probably positioned out. I don't know. I have no idea.
I think maybe this analogy I just thought of, maybe you'll appreciate this, Trey. So one of the most dangerous operations you can do in the military is to retrograde under fire, right? So withdraw under fire for whatever reason you have to do it. That's basically what the bass were doing. Like, the air is their enemy because they're going to die if they get in it for too long. So when the water's rising, I got more of this home I can live in, and now it's like, well, my home's disappearing. So I imagine it stresses them out. And then they could, it just kind of throws them for a loop, maybe, especially if it's fast falling water.
I'm sure that plays a role. It's also back to Trey. That's why I thought Trey was talking about earlier. Is typically that water, that post front, you're having high pressure, you're having those sunny bluebird skies, barometric, high barometric pressure. So the fish right there are a little bit less active,
and they're probably full. I would imagine.
And they've been up there just getting
fat,
right? As they can stay up there. So just a little bit. And then Mike said, I think fine water pulls bait out of the shallows, allowing the fish feed on some bait that was hidden due to higher water. Yeah, absolutely could be. I think it's probably a combination of things, and we'll really never know. But we all can have opinions. And, I'm not going to go out there and dead stick a Cinco for fun.
Well,
Jeff said fish the creeks that have running water in Jordan. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I talked about. You may not have been on yet, Jeff, but that's my go-to Jordan pattern when the water gets up like that.
Yeah, and you'll know, like, you can look at the topography on your map. If you're looking for those high spots, like those humps and things that are on land, then those are typically your bank lines that are going to have some of the best water runoff, whether or not you see like a valley that meets the water, or you see like dredged out docks, like on certain lakes, like more water runoff is going to go into there. It just depends, but look at the topography on your map and use your map to help you identify, or, potentially in our future partnerships, we'll be able to help you out a little bit with that stuff. You know what I mean? So,
yep. Falling water searching for a new home. Yep. I think there's some of that probably too. They've sort of settled in, and now they're getting pulled out of where they've been living for the last little bit, and they got to find somewhere new. So,
and look, there's probably definitely a difference as we mentioned in the beginning with rising water. It's all lake river system dependent, because those lakes, I mean, I don't know if Jordan would fall in the category because it doesn't fluctuate nearly as much as the lakes out west do, that constantly flow up and down through the seasons. I know Jordan's a core lake, but it's more flood control. It's not. So like those fish are used to moving up. Some of those lakes out there will move up and down 60, 70, 80, 100 feet a year.
Yeah.
And so they're just, those fish may be more used to it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Jeff said white oak is really good during high water because it's so shallow all the time of the year. I can imagine, Jeff. I mean, white oak is definitely one of our favorite creeks in that lake to fish. And if they can get back in those little ponds and stuff like that, I'm sure they're going to be gorging to death. And your boat's going to be sitting right over the top of buckbrush and stuff like that. So
yeah,
there's tons of cover for them to hang out in. Think about tidal fisheries. Those are
those
constantly,
fish constantly, they move with the tide up and down.
Yep,
absolutely.
Which we don't have a lot of here, if any. We have like wind tidal fishery.
Well, if you fish the alligator and stuff like that, there's a tide the further east you go.
Which on tidal fisheries, right? A lot of times a falling tide is better when the tide's going out.
I don't know.
Usually rising or falling, you just don't want that slack tide is when it's bad. But I think it also depends on what you're concentrating on, whether it's falling or rising. But it does seem like those guys like the falling tide. I don't have much experience, so I don't know. Mike, maybe you can speak a little bit. You probably have more than all of us on a tidal bass fishery. But yeah, so Debbie is now settling in through Pennsylvania and New York. Day 2 of the Elite Series postponed. No slack, says Dave. So yeah, day 2 Elites was postponed because of heavy rain and some wind and stuff from Debbie. And so they'll pick up tomorrow, hopefully, with day 2.
I just love this tournament, dude.
Yeah, that's always a fun one on that lake because you can catch them so many different ways.
Ben, what were you going to say about it?
So this being postponed presents a serious issue for guys next week, which is
for
the tournament. They
start. I mean, they're going to lose one day of practice. Yeah.
And, well, the big problem is the guys who make the top 10.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to drive all through the night or miss practice on Monday.
Yeah.
And, on Tuesday, right? So, because
they won't miss practice Tuesday. I promise you that. With already losing Monday, I know those guys aren't going to miss practice Tuesday. Luckily, it's not that far of a drive for them, too.
Well, everyone, I don't know. Are they will they even have practice on Monday? Official practice on Monday because of
it still starts Monday for everybody that doesn't make the cut.
Okay.
Yeah, they did the same thing between the Harris chain and St. John's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those guys in the top 10, I don't know if they missed a day of practice or if they had to roll right from the top 10 right into the first day of practice on the St. John's River.
Hey Smith, you can take your spam and attempting to take stuff from our listeners somewhere else. Nobody's going to send money for your fake kid, so you're deleted and blocked. Thanks, bud.
How far is Champlain from because when they went from the Harris chain to the St. John's, it was a couple hour drive, right? An hour and a half hour drive.
Yeah. Jeff, the Roanoke is not going to be back to normal next week, bud. Unfortunately, they're going to be dumping water out of all of these lakes, and it's going to continue to flow. So it's going to be a little while. I'm going to hit up some of my buddies that live over there too and see how bad the fish kill is.
How far is Champlain to where, Ben?
St.
Lawrence.
Where are they putting in at? That's the biggest question.
Okay, it won't be that bad.
I don't think it's very bad.
I'm just showing like a random 5 hour and 10-minute drive, but that just ramp to ramp is dependent. But this tournament's awesome, man. I mean, it's going to suck for them, whoever makes the top 10.
Waddington. Okay.
But this is definitely a pretty entertaining tournament. Seth Feider's leading right now with a little over, 23 pounds on day 1 with all greenfish, catching them, flipping, frogging, doing the stuff that a lot of us like to do. And if you're going to watch fishing, I guess that's the way to really watch it. And then you got guys out there chasing brownfish around and scoping them and stuff. And then you got Ike and Ellie that's hitting docks with, whacking worms and stuff. This is a really cool tournament. I watched it. I watched the majority of it day 1, and it was really exciting, man. It's a breath of fresh air for sure from a viewer perspective, I'll say.
Yeah, you had guys catching shallow. Everything was in play, so we'll see if it holds up. Traditionally, it does not. That shallow water bite's probably going to go away. That's usually a 1-day deal there. Somebody will go out and catch a bag, and then they'll kind of fall by the wayside. But But
So
you
you're
never
right.
know. They could.
The weather
What?
changes with the weather, like what that's
Yeah.
going to do to it.
Yeah, more than
Right.
likely that's going to hurt it with rain and wind, and
So-
that lake, the west wind, the wind they're getting on that lake is gonna really affect it. So I think it's probably going to turn into a more offshore game. But I've been wrong plenty in my life. So
Well, I mean, that kind of ties in what we're talking about. So, like rising water conditions, like, so the guys that caught them on day one, flipping and frogging and stuff like that, is a great largemouth pattern. But now they're going to be dealing with post frontal conditions. We all know that smallies bite in those high bluebird skies. So who knows if the largemouth are even going to play? And that was my concern with Seth Feider, is like he is definitely he got really good bites on day one, but can that pattern hold up for the next 3 days? I don't know.
well, they said in practice he had a really good practice with smallmouth offshore, so I think he's got that in his back pocket. But
I don't know. What do you all think listening? Can Seth Feider hold this lead for the next 3 days?
let's see what we got here.
Tomorrow,
Charlie said, Ben, I have liked fishing when the lake is falling. That's probably due to warmer water and more active fish. I just drove through Debbie the Fuchs. Well, I'm glad y'all made it through there safe. Mike John said it's best here. The last bit of low tide going out and the first of low tide coming in. Jeff wants Roanoke by next weekend. Like I said, I don't think that's gonna happen, unfortunately. Dave said no, he doesn't think Seth's thing's gonna hold up. Yeah, I don't think the shallow water is gonna hold up if you look at history, but stranger things have happened for sure.
Yep. Yeah. So,
Ben, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
the only thing that's particularly interesting is today there was no pressure out there for his fish, and
That's true.
and he was largemouth fish. So like, if the weather was bad, maybe it did push some more up.
Yeah. Well, there was no Elite Series pressure. That doesn't mean there
Correct.
wasn't any local pressure that saw him on TV and went out and flipped all the stuff that he was fishing.
I mean,
we know how
today-
local people can be.
It would have been sporty out there, from what I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But tomorrow's
like
supposed to be
6
80, mostly sunny, 10-mile-an-hour winds. Sunday 75, cloudy, and then maybe some rain on Monday, cloudy.
I don't know, man.
Tomorrow will tell the tale of what's going to go down. So
And-
we'll just have to see what he gets rolling in the morning, and if they're there or they're not. You'll be able to tell pretty quick because that stuff he was on was pretty fast and furious in the morning.
I don't know, Mike. I think Seth Feider is a shallow water angler. I think he's good at all of it, but I think if he had the choice between flipping a bug and frogging versus out there, throwing a drop shot or a jig head minnow for smallmouth, I think he would rather do the first one. That's just me personally. I mean, he mashed them. What does he have? Like 1 or 2 AOYs on the Elite Series?
One, yeah. I mean, he's made his whole fishing career out of a jig and a flipping stick. He fishes a lot like Hackney and those guys. So I think a lot of people lump him into that offshore just because he's from the north, but where he fished, he won a lot of money on largemouth and fishing grass lines.
Yeah,
and doing
Lake
that kind of
Minnetonka
stuff.
is like a shallow water, like grass dream, isn't it?
Yeah,
From my
that
understanding.
was one of the things they were talking about yesterday was, he spent a lot of time in the off season working on forward facing and offshore fishing to be able to try to compete in those types of events. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's going to be interesting whether he can keep that rolling or not. So,
Does Harris get muddy after all this rain?
yeah, it'll get a little color to it.
So the northern parts of the lake will get muddy. You'll definitely see a mud line up both sides of the lake. That's a really important thing to pay attention to, Jeff, because the dirtier the water, if the fish are shallow, the closer to cover they typically are, and they use their lateral lines a lot more to feel vibrations of the baits and stuff like that. I've done really well flipping some of the muddy water with like a black and blue, like beaver style bait or a jig or whatever the case may be, or throwing a spinner bait or something like that. So you can definitely get some big ones that have been kind of roaming out in that 8 to 12 foot range and then slide up in those dirty waters. It's definitely a good way to catch a big one for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be mostly dirty, just the sheer amount of rain we got. Your typical big rains, like Trey said, there's more of a line, but I think almost a foot of rain over a 12-hour period, probably going to dirty up the majority of the lake. Buzzbait, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Buzzbait has not been a big player for me this year, but I haven't thrown it a whole lot either. I know it's a crime, Mike. I know it's a crime, but what else is going on in the fishing world? So you got Champlain going on for the elites.
Champlain, BPT is on St. John's for their last event of the year.
St. John's?
St. Lawrence.
Yeah. AOI is Angler of the Year is bouncing all over the place right now.
Who was in the lead last time you checked?
It was still Hamner.
It's still Hamner. I pulled it up. He's still first.
I
sent a text to Sporty because there was yesterday, right? I think there was about 40 people who didn't have Bass Track. And at the time, Trey McKinney on Bass Track was like in the top 10. He was like 9th. And Hamner was like 60-something place. And Hamner had dropped down to 5th in AOI. And McKinney had jumped back up to 1. So, like, right now, McKinney's sitting in 3, and, like, Jacob Fouts is 2 because he's in the top. It's like, it's good. The next – no one's got it locked up yet.
That's
and
right.
I think – I guess if Justin wins, he comes back and wins it, that might lock it up. But
they said the last thing I saw was Justin, even if Trey McKinney won the last 2 events, all he needs is 40-place average over the last 2, and he'll have it locked up.
Yeah.
So you can't really go off of the live AOI thing because it's not that great. I think last year it showed somebody winning who didn't win until the official results came out. But
yeah. I mean, Bass Track. I mean, we all know the tracker is not 100% accurate, and it's not everyone puts their stuff in and it jumps around, but it's a close. It just shows how much movement there can be over the next. 7 days.
Yeah.
Tournament fishing.
Yeah, I mean, Hamner could finish dead last, man, and definitely lose it for sure. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna finish dead last, but he could.
If he finished top 20,
he's sitting 30th right
he
now.
could finish dead last on the other one, and he would still win it. That would give him a 40 average.
I'm not good at this bass math that everybody does. Whoever wins it wins it.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if he wins it, it's going to be a hell of a year for him, being the Classic champ and Angler of the Year.
That'd be awesome.
McKinney still has Rookie of the Year locked up, though, doesn't he? Right now.
Let me look. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think he does.
Yeah.
Jeff said he put his Hydro Wave on the boat today.
Jeff, you got to let us know your thoughts on the Hydro Wave.
John Garrett's he's less than 20 points behind. He's 14 points behind.
Yeah.
So John Garrett could actually catch him. I mean, it just depends on how the races shake out, but he could technically catch him, I think.
Yeah. Ben, have you followed the BPT tournament at the St. Lawrence River?
No, I haven't really looked at it.
Well, I mean, from what I saw earlier, and this was just on some of the clips, looked like Brian Thrift was absolutely destroying them. God, he had like 135 pounds or something like that.
No,
he had 150 pounds. 160 pounds.
Good gracious.
Second place at 159.
Yeah. Josh had 159.15.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude.
So he only had like a 4-ounce lead or something ridiculous with 100.
But he also caught 5 more fish.
Yeah. So who that's their last tournament of the year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all but over. Wheeler
locked up Angler of the Year for BPT.
I don't think they've given him the trophy yet, but the only person that could catch him was Alton Jones. I don't even think he made the cut, which locked it up for Wheeler.
Heck of a year for Jacob Wheeler again.
Yeah, what's he like? I think he's won AOI every year since the BPT came out.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I think he's 19 points ahead of Alton Jones Jr.
Okay. Yeah, he pretty much solidified that deal then.
Because I think is 30 points, 35 behind him. So
yeah. Man, I mean, other than that, there's not a whole lot going on in the fishing world.
No, there isn't.
I mean, everyone's kind of had a hiatus. The MPFL just got done with their Pickwick event, and they're getting ready to go to Saginaw Bay. I mean, their opens and stuff are, I think, where are they going next? They got a few more events left for the elite qualifiers. Jeff said, I've had some schools of bait fish follow me around. I see streaks on the fish finder, a fish coming up to see what the noise is. It helps when fishing is tough. Yeah, Jeff, I don't have one on my boat. Pete doesn't have one. Ben, you don't have one on your boat. But I'd love to see how it affects fish using forward-facing sonar to see if it changes their behavior, and that might be something that I look into in the future, is just to see what it does. Mike John says Wheeler is like a Tom Brady of bass fishing.
He's like the Tom Brady of every fish counts. Yeah, for sure.
You can definitely see when the league changed its style, or when that style of fishing suits him for sure. Not that he can't catch 5, for sure he can catch 5. But we've had Zach Burge on here before, and a lot of people talk about like that style of fishing is very different than hunting down big fish. I mean, that changes your whole strategy. So I don't know, man. He's definitely a Tom Brady of the BPT.
Yeah, he struggled a little bit last year when they went to he didn't have a terrible year, but when they went to the 5 fish, 5 best, it's like you said, it's a whole mentality thing, and he's for so long been on that got to catch as many as possible that I just feel like he had trouble adjusting back to needing to catch 5 big ones.
Yeah, I mean, probably because he's been fishing that format for years.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to look where he finished last year because I'm probably wrong.
Ben, what else is going on in the fishing world?
Oh yeah, Wheeler finished 2nd last year in AOI.
Yeah, so he was still fine.
Yeah, he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Jacob Wheeler will have a home most likely, no matter what happens.
He was AOI.
Yeah.
2021 was AOI.
So he's only not won at one time. I know Edwin Evers won it in 19. So
he did not. Jordan Lee won it in 20.
That'd be a hard house to. That'd be a hard house to.
So 21, 22, 24, he won it.
I feel good. I feel. Dude,
that's pretty impressive, man.
Gosh,
regardless of the all the fish, 5 fish, and then a 2nd place the one year he didn't win.
Oh yeah, and the other year he wasn't. One of them he was 3rd in AOI. So
Unreal.
It's like
when Edwin won, yeah
he's a monster, dude.
He was 3rd, yeah.
What'd Rodney say?
So I get the feeling something better in live scope is going to emerge in 2025. Yeah, and we'll see. I don't know.
I have no idea what could be better. I'm not sure.
I don't know what they're
live cameras.
Some stuff we've talked about that I'm not even going to bring into the realm of a conversation. That if it's true, that I'm just going to quit fishing.
I'll tell you what. The next time I go fishing, I'm not even going to turn a graph on. I might turn my graph on at the council and just use it for mapping. But
at the what?
At the council.
The council.
The council.
What are we going to a meeting? It's console, Trey.
At the council.
Michigan coming up,
and go out there and just fish, man. And I think that's important for all of us to do, even if we are fishing tournaments, is to go out there and just recreationally fish and make sure that you don't lose that intuition, because that is the biggest argument in the world right now.
Trey will be out there pinging with Jig Head Minnow tomorrow.
You never know.
I know.
You never know.
He bought all kinds of new fancy jig heads, titanium and aluminum.
No, I am gonna get out there and do some stuff with some different baits that I got, but that's just to get the feeling of them.
I'm just talking smack.
But I do need to go chuck a buzz bait around, man, and a whopper plopper and all those other top water plopper type baits and stuff. Like I feel like top water has not been. I mean, it's been good on some of the lakes this year for me, but it definitely has been better.
Yep, I schwacked them on the buzz bait down at the river last weekend.
Yeah, you did.
And then. Now the river's dead.
Yep. She's going to be dead for a while.
I just fish every time. Try it, boys. Christian says, I do it all the time. Well, when I go to the river, I do it all the time.
Now's the time to go fish new water as the water's rising and just go play around with different things. So
it really is. Yeah, this is you got water up, fish are going to get spread out.
Yep.
You can definitely body of water that you usually don't fish, a little city lake.
That's right. Right. Yep.
Something that's a little more stable, a little more hit. Might find a hidden gem.
I'm pretty happy that our lakes are going to be wrecked for about the last month, honestly. Next month, honestly, because I'm going to be so busy, I'm not going to get to fish.
Hey, yeah. Speaking of which, we should all just go to Union County and fish out there.
Oh yeah, Union County is the place to go.
I will go chuck a buzzbait around.
Chunk, not chuck. Chunk.
Chunk a
Go
buzzbait.
chunk that old buzzbait around there, bud.
Yeah, with those ceramic.
You know, just go chunk it around there, guy.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, bud. Just go chunk the old buzzbait around there.
I feel like there's not a whole lot to talk about anymore right now.
No, Ben was talking about doing something. What were you saying, Ben?
Oh, I was just making a joke. If we can't fish around here, we just go to Union County and go fish those ponds.
Yeah, the Union County ponds. I still have that pulled up. Somebody beat. Well, it wouldn't have been the new state record because it didn't beat the current state record by enough. But they caught one that was close enough. They caught a 1595 out of a pond in Union County.
That's a giant.
So it has to be, I believe, 4 ounces bigger than the current record to beat it. And it was not over that, but still an absolute freaking mega giant.
Yeah, like 5 pounds bigger than the fish I've ever caught.
Yeah, and the state record in North Carolina currently is out of a pond in Union County, so something going on out there.
Should it count? Should it count out of a pond?
Nope, 100% no.
100%, yeah.
You can't beat a multi-species angler. I mean,
You can't be.
no, he corrected himself down too. If you would have read,
No. You're skipping.
We'll be fishing the kayak derby on Gas tomorrow. Be careful, have fun. Gaston had not updated their water levels when I looked this morning, so I have no idea what it's doing. But
I mean, it'll be pretty stable.
Yeah, but they also got a lot of rain up there today.
Might be stable water, but it might be a lot of current.
Yeah.
Pete Dubs, I will tell you this. You're going for inches, then just go largemouth fishing, bro. Chuck a top water around all day. You might catch 5 giants.
Yep. If you shoot Trey a message, he'll tell you exactly where to fish. He's the Gaston master. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
How's packing going, Pete? It's going. I spent yesterday after work and packed up all of my tackle. Priorities.
And then he went out today and bought pegboard.
Today, yeah.
The first thing he bought for his new house is pegboard to put on the garage wall.
Pegboard for the garage wall.
So I've got all the pegs for you. So
all right,
there you go.
Because I was counting today. I've got, I believe, 6 totes full of soft plastics and hard baits that I need to put on a wall somewhere. So
Pete said he didn't get a chance to pre-fish today. Sometimes tournaments work out better when you don't go out there and psych yourself out. So just get out there and fish what looks good, bro. Like there's tons of vegetation in that lake, tons of rock, tons of docks. I mean, you pretty much in Lake Gaston, you have all of it. So, get out there and throw a buzzbait around.
Yeah. Midway USA has a great deal on 100 count Senkos. Huh. I don't think I need any more Senkos right this minute, but I'll probably go look later.
Jeff, Deep Creek Lures is looking for new pro staff. So if you're in the market to be a pro staffer, I don't know if you're already on with them, but they're on the market for that. And by the way, in the market, if you guys go to my personal Facebook page, I'm selling some things at pretty good prices. So if you're interested, if you're local here in the Sanford area, which I know a lot of you guys are not, but if you're local to the Sanford area and you got any friends down here, we've got some fishing rods for sale, some baits and stuff like that. So just shoot me a DM if you're interested in any of those items. I've already sold, I think, 2 rods and 4 baits. So there's a little bit left. Just shoot me a message and I'll give you an update.
Yep. And if you are local, we're going to be having a big old, like $44 for 100. Yeah, that's pretty good. We're going to have a big old tackle yard sale coming. Trey, Seth, me, maybe Ben's got something he needs to offload.
Yeah.
We're gonna get something on the book. So if you're local, keep your eyes open for that because we've all got too much stuff. It just kind of accumulates and
sits there. Collects dust. Jeff, hook you up with what? I'm not on with Deep Creek Lures. And Pete's not either. And Ben's not either.
I didn't even know they were looking.
But they posted a thing on their social media the other day that they were looking for pro staff. But Nick is on with Deep Creek and Mike. So we can hit them up and talk to them about it. But, getting on, we talked about this a long time ago, but getting on pro staff, depending on the contract you enter or whatever the case may be, it's a great opportunity to save a little bit of money on baits. It brings you back as a repeat customer a lot of times. So it's good for that business as well. And you promote their product. So if you're not on with any companies, getting on a pro staff isn't a bad idea because it helps you save a little bit of pocket change.
Yep, absolutely.
road trip for a yard sale. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have we already owe you a little goodie bag anyways when you get down here, but we'll have more stuff so that you guys can burn a hole in your pocket with that money and purchase some stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, if y'all got any more questions last minute, get them in there. We're coming up on an hour. I've got a long weekend ahead. Ben's not feeling well. Trey's a bum.
Yeah, I'm a bum.
So we're gonna get to wrapping it up, but yeah, not a whole lot going on. I know it probably wasn't the most exciting live this week. I think we covered some pretty good topics though. If y'all have suggestions for live shows, shoot them to us on the group or DM or whatever. And this is the easiest place for us to kind of answer those questions and get on some of those different topics. As we have guests and stuff lined up, for our weekly recordings, typically, it makes it hard to kind of ad lib and go through some of those. We do have some weeks where we do need ideas. So if you shoot one to us that we think we need to make into a full, recorded episode and really, dig some facts or whatever, then we'll definitely do that. But we're always looking for suggestions. We do this one just so we can talk about fishing and hang out, but more than that, it's to try to bring information to all of you folks, to help you get better as anglers as much as possible, and share some of our amateur knowledge that we have. Next week, why are baits so expensive? Yeah. I mean, it's funny you asked that. We talk about some of that, and the episode is going to come out next week. So
yeah, so stay tuned. Next Thursday at noon, a new episode is going to drop on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Jeff, give it a listen. We have a great guest that's on the show, and we talk about the industry and its economic situation that it's in a little bit. That might help answer that question a little.
Yeah, what you got, man?
Not
Nothing.
Much. Nothing, man.
We'll drink some Robitussin and wrap it up with duct tape. Take some of those ibuprofens. We definitely appreciate everyone jumping on here and spending an hour of your Friday with us. We'll keep posting questions and stuff. If you're not part of the Facebook community page, go to the OneCast on Facebook. Sign up. You just got to answer a few questions. That way we can verify that you're not a fake account. We'll get you guys in the community page. We always post questions and things about Take a Warrior Fishing, which we got upcoming events with them, Heroes Harvest, FX3, Special Operations Bass Anglers, all sorts of local events that are coming up. Stay tuned for those. Some really cool things.
Let's run through those real quick. So we've got Take a Warrior Fishing. We have September 7th. We have the Warrior, I forget what it's called, Warrior Fest. I'm terrible. I'm on the board and I can't remember the name of the event. But it's Warrior Fest. It's at I'm going to pull it up because then I can't mess it up. I do have the date right. I know that. It's at the brewery. Right? Yeah. Trey's trying to pull it up. I'm trying to pull it up. The internet's not working. Warrior Fest. It's at the Tap Yard in Raleigh.
September 7th.
So I was right on the date. It's pretty much an all-day deal. We're going to be there doing a live. So that week we will not do a Friday night live. We're going to do a Saturday live from there. We'll be hanging out. There's a cornhole tournament, all kinds of fun stuff going on there. So make sure you check that out if you're in the Raleigh area. Again, that's September 7th, 2024 at the Raleigh Tap Yard. It finally pulled up for me because I wanted to double check. Did he put times on there yet? I don't think so. I think it's still TBD. So I'll definitely post the times, but I know it starts pretty early in the day. I think around 1, somewhere around there. Bands come on around 6. So it's going to be fun. Bunch of prizes. They've got a week vacation in Nags Head that includes a full day offshore fishing in the raffle. The other is a couple Carolina Hurricanes tickets with a parking pass. So that's a great event. It's a fundraiser for us. And then November 2nd, 2024 on Sharon Harris out of Holloman Ramp, which is not the ramp if you fish the spring event. That is the other one on the northern end of the lake. We have our Warrior Fishing event, which is basically an all-species tournament. It's a 8:30 a.m. or I'm sorry, it's a 10 o'clock blast off. It's a little bit later till 2 p.m. So a little bit shorter day.
Good, it's
an all-species event. We give prizes for largest bass, largest catfish, and largest panfish. It's really just about, that one's just about, they're all just about getting warriors out there fishing, but that one's a little bit less competitive than the bass one because it's open to all species, but it's a ton of fun. It's a great event. So if you're around, again, that's November 2nd at a Sharon Harris Holloman ramp. You can head to warriorfishing.org on the events tab and click there to sign up. And then the weekend after that, November, I believe it's the 8th, correct? It's Veterans Day. So November 8th. I got it right. November 8th is the SOBA, Special Operations Bass Anglers. There's another fake account. Do not cash app that person who's begging for money for their kids that don't exist. So let me delete that. That's how you know you made it. You know you made it when the bots start trying to scam people out of money. So they're gone. So yeah, SOBA, Special Operations Bass Anglers, November 8th. That one is on Lake Norman. We're going to be there basically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe a little bit Sunday morning to fish. Going to be a ton of fun. The Fuchs clan is coming down from New Jersey with one of their friends. Ben's dog might be there. It's on his lap right now. If you don't see that, that dog's a sweetheart. But man, that retriever got some long hair. But yeah, SOBA Bass Tournament. So if you're interested in that, Special Operations Bass Anglers, you can check them out on Facebook. There's also a website that I forget Nick shared with us last week, and I need to update all of our stuff with that so you can see it. But just check them out on Facebook. You shoot them a DM on Facebook if you're going to fish it, and that's how you get your boat number and everything. Jeff said, man, I just sent them 500. Sorry, bro, can't help you. So yeah, cool. Mike Johns will be up from Florida to fish. Him and Ben will probably be fishing together again. I think Trey's got my old man in the boat with him once again, and my wife and I, and then David Fuchs and his wife, and then one of their friends and his, I believe, wife. So going to be a blast. Great tournament. That was a fake. Yeah, but hopefully we'll get to see some more of y'all there. More details to come on that as we figure out prizes and stuff. Things that are going on with that one. So Special Operations Bass Anglers. Trey, nothing for Heroes Harvest here in the near future?
No, if you guys are interested in like a lot of hunting opportunities right now, here you can go to heroesharvest.org. Look at the upcoming events. They got elk hunting trips, salmon fishing trips, I believe, but I'll have to check out what they got going on. I do more of the fishing side of it. So maybe after Hurricane Debbie passes through and the water stabilizes, I'm going to take somebody out next weekend. Because it's a 4-day weekend for me for some odd reason. I don't know if it's a holiday or whatever. I'm going to take somebody next weekend. So, but yeah, check out heroesharvest.org. You got tons of things. If you're a veteran or active duty, there's a sign up roster on there. You got to submit either a picture of your common access card or your retired card to verify who you are. And then they will do a random drawing, and then that winner will get they'll coordinate through whoever's going to take them on that trip.
Yep. And if you're struggling and you just want a day on the water, veteran, first responder, or you're just somebody that needs somebody to talk to, as always, hit us up and we'll do our best to get you out there. And if you're a warrior looking for fishing opportunities, again, take warrior fishing, warriorfishing.org. You can sign up there. We've got a ton of opportunities fishing wise. Again, Trey's working the fishing angle on Heroes Harvest. It'll get better. There'll be more events, but if you're looking for hunting, they're a great organization to give you that opportunity as well. So appreciate you, Ben. Any last thoughts? Anything you want to add?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody have a great, safe weekend. Hopefully you get to get out on the water. I'm going to be packing to move. Trey, I'm going to force him to help me move a couch tomorrow. So we got all that going on, and appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate you supporting our those that work with us in the show and helping us continue to grow a culture of anglers helping anglers, one cast at a time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, God, it's a toad, son. It's a toad, dude.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day.